Tell me, what do you make of the developments in Washington of the past 2 days?
Well, there's bad news and good news. The bad news is, of course, that we have 5 people dead as a consequence of these riots. The good news is that the mob failed to overturn the constitutional proceedings. Trump failed in his botched pseudo-coup attempt. And as a matter of fact, democracy won. I mean, rule of law won. Decency won in the end. We now have a finalized American election process. We have the prospect of Joe Biden being inaugurated, as is the due course of the American Constitution, on January the 20th, on the steps of the Capitol. So there's terrible news for the people who have passed away and their loved ones, but there's good news for American democracy.
Many people say they were shocked but not surprised. How about you?
That's exactly the way I feel. Having listened to Donald Trump over the years, having listened to him in the run-up to the election on November 3rd, you could see that he was planning things like this. When he says emotions are high after the election, well, he's the one who stoked the flames. He's the one who put in doubt the very date of the election. He's the one who declared his Democratic opponents enemies of the people. He is the one who is responsible for all of this. And so I have observed elections in many countries across the world, in Africa, in Asia. And whenever you see authoritarian figures trying to create a situation that is not purely constitutional, that is not cleanly electoral, they do exactly what the American president has done over the last couple of months. And then I watched his march, his rally, earlier, prior to the proceedings on Capitol Hill in the Senate chamber, and he clearly incited his followers to walk over to the Capitol and to start rioting. So there's absolutely no doubt that Mr. Trump is responsible for what happened there yesterday.
How do you see these events affecting the U.S. legitimacy in the promotion of democracy and democratic values around the world?
Well, it's been a shock to the system, there's no doubt about that. But on the other hand, as I just said, on the very same day that we saw the riots taking place in D.C. on the steps and inside the Capitol, in the state of Georgia, 2 opposition senators were elected into office. And Georgia is a state with a Republican administration. The governor is a Republican, the Secretary of State is a Republican, the man who leads the election process is a Republican, but they duly and correctly certified the Democratic winners of their senatorial race, which means that Joe Biden now has a majority both in the House and in the Senate. To me, that says that Mr. Trump will be gone, but American democracy will remain strong, and with it also American credibility when it comes to talking about democracy. Yes, it was a shock. Yes, it has done some damage, but by and large, looking at the bigger picture, I see American democracy having come out as the victor of this, of these terrible images there.
Despite it all, could you see this incident emboldening right-wing extremists in other countries?
Yes, indeed. I mean, we have seen similar images in Germany, if you recall. In August, we had a group of people storming the German parliament building. They did not make it inside, but we had very similar images, flags of the right-wing extremists, of nationalists, of populist, racist types who were trying to storm the Capitol to create, the Reichstag building, the German parliament building, because they feel that parliamentary democracy is not, what they want. They want an authoritarian form of government. And yes, of course, democracies are vulnerable around the world. Every Democrat, whether you're left, center, or right, needs to be very clear that the other people whom you compete with in democratic competition are not your enemies, they are your legitimate competitors. And if we can agree on that, if we can convince more people in our population, including those who have been seduced by radical ringleaders, then I think democracy will come out strengthened. But yes, democracy is under pressure and we have to fight back.
Alexander Graf Lambsdorff, Deputy Chair of the FDP Parliamentary Group here in Germany. Many thanks.
Thank you.